Hi, welcome back to Echoes from the Quiet Corner. Today, we follow the pipe smoke and footprints straight to 221B Baker Street and into the strategic art of red teaming. I grew up wanting to join the FBI. Really, I devoured every Sherlock Holmes book I could find. I wanted to be in the field, solving puzzles, catching masterminds. But life took me somewhere entirely different, into data, into AI. And that's when I discovered red teaming, a field that surprisingly felt like a digital version of my FBI dreams. A world where you don't defend from the outside. You think like the attacker, predict like the detective, and just like the villain. So, in today's episode, I am bringing two of my dream lives together, AI and literature, or rather, Sherlock Holmes and red teaming. Let's see what they have in common. In Arthur Conan Doyle's universe, Holmes isn't great because he defends well. He's great because he thinks like villain. He anticipates the criminal's next move before it's even made, most of the time. He sketches out every possibility, walks into the trap mentally, and disables it before it ever springs, at times, again. That's red teaming. Instead of securing your vault by adding locks, you hire someone to try and rob it. Ethically, of course. In AI safety, cybersecurity, and even corporate strategy, red teams are the Sherlock Holmeses paid to think like the criminal, to reveal the unseen flaws before real damage is done. So, before we talk red teaming, we must meet the ultimate adversary, Professor James Moriarty. Sherlock Holmes called him the Napoleon of crime. Not a brute, not a common villain, but a mathematical genius, a man with the brain of the first order. A former university lecturer who turned his intellect toward strategy, manipulation, and invisible power. He wasn't just committing crimes, he was orchestrating them flawlessly, silently, like a conductor in the shadows. Introduced in the final problem in 1893, Moriarty doesn't dominate the Holmes canon by quantity but by quality. He appears only briefly, but the weight of his presence is unmistakable. The novels treat him as Holmes' archenemy, his equal in intellect, but opposite in morality. Holmes describes him as this. He sits motionless like a spider in the center of its web. But that web has 1,000 radiations, and he knows well every quiver of each of them. Now, here's where it gets fascinating. That quote could describe a hacker or a model exploit or even a social engineer in today's digital world. Moriarty tests the boundaries of law and logic. He's subtle, elegant, and devastatingly strategic. And Holmes doesn't just chase him, he becomes him mentally. Holmes corners Moriarty not with brute force but with intellect, a preemptive strike. He maps his mind, his moves, his motivations until he can collapse the entire criminal network in a single confrontation. And in doing so, he collapses a web of evil before it can even spread. That is the heart of red teaming, I would say. Preemptive insight. Whether it's AI misuse, cybersecurity breaches, or corporate blind spots, red teaming is the art of writing the ending before the plot begins. It's fiction turned function. detective work made strategic. This right here is red teaming, thinking like the adversary to protect against them. Because Moriarty doesn't represent just crime, he represents the kind of system failure only a mind trained in adversarial thinking can reveal. And in their duel at Reichenbach Falls, it's insight versus exploitation, a chess match where the board is society. That brings us to our next scene, real world red teaming. Today's digital Sherlock Holmeses, I would say. Red teaming has become a critical tool in the age of powerful AI. According to the Frontier Model Forum's 2023 report, red teaming is defined as a structured effort to find flaws or harmful capabilities in AI systems through adversarial testing. It's no longer just cybersecurity professionals. We are seeing red teams composed of ethicists, sociologists, psychologists, and domain experts who push frontier models to their limits. The OpenAI red teaming network, launched in 2023, is a great example. It brought together hundreds of experts to simulate potential misuse of GPT-4 in areas like misinformation, cybercrime, and autonomous planning. Not after deployment, but before deployment. The goal is to anticipate harms not yet visible, to treat safety like detective work, not damage control. And then there's the archive paper, red teaming language models with language models, which proposed using AI itself to generate and evaluate adversarial prompts. Think of it like Sherlock Holmes training a digital version of Moriarty and then running battle simulations to see what could go wrong. This is red teaming at its most modern, recursive loop of intelligence, ethics, and foresight. Not panic, not pessimism, just strategy. Sherlock Holmes with code. Sherlock Holmes once told Watson, "You see, but you do not observe." That is the difference. Red teaming is the art of observation through adversarial empathy. It is the Holmesian method embedded in engineering, policy, and code. And it reminds us that true safety doesn't come from building higher walls, but from thinking like the one trying to climb them. And so we walk in the footsteps of Moriarty, not to follow, but to intercept. We listen like Holmes, not to hear, but to understand. So maybe I didn't make it to the FBI as I always dreamt of. No trench coat, no badge, no dramatic rooftop chases with violins playing in the background. But red teaming, don't you think it's kind of close enough? You see, if you ever dreamed of being a detective or a secret agent like me, guess what? You still can. In today's world, you don't need to fight crime in alleyways. You fight it in code, in systems, in simulation labs, and strategy rooms. You don't need to dodge bullets, you dodge biases, exploits, and model drift. And somewhere between Sherlock's pipe and GPT's prompt, you realize being the good kind of troublemaker is still possible for you and me. You just swapped your magnifying glass for a keyboard. So, to all the aspiring Sherlocks out there, welcome to the 21st century mystery. The game is still afoot. And red teaming, it might just be your Reichenbach falls moment, minus the actual falling. I think maybe if you want to understand that, you should read the book. Ask yourself, what would Moriarty do? And then be the Sherlock Holmes who stops him first. That's all for today. Until next time, stay soft, Stay listening, stay still, and may your quiet corners be rich with echoes that know how to listen, as always. Bye.